Because I was kind of worried that they might not let me in, but I'm here and I'm very grateful. Thank you very much. My story is a very personal one. I'm not going to be talking about surahs or anything of that sort. I want to tell you what is going on in Austria, what's going on with me. So why am I here? I'm under investigation for hate speech. Hate speech against Islam. You can't do that, because otherwise I wouldn't be under investigation. The case is currently pending. No formal charges have been brought up yet, but I expect there will be, and I fully expect that, just like Gerd Wilders, I will also be subjected to a trial. I don't know yet for sure, but I believe that is going to be the case. So how did it come to this reporting to the authorities, as we call it in Austria? We have a very popular magazine, a weekly glossy magazine called News. And News sent a young undercover journalist to attend 2 of the 3 of my seminars on Islam that I have been invited to give on behalf of the Austrian Freedom Party. It was infiltrated. This young journalist actually had a microphone, just like mine, just like the one in front. She didn't tell me that she was recording my words. And the story broke in late November of last year. There was huge outrage. It was a huge, huge report, about 15 pages of this weekly glossy. And you can imagine that the entire political and religious establishment, not just the Muslims, but you had the Catholics, you had the Protestants, you had the Jews, the Jewish establishment, religious group, I'm sorry, complain about my words. You can't say that. I even had it in my own family. You cannot say what you said. And no matter what I say in reply, well, how can you say that Islam is supremacist? It is against women's rights, it's against human rights, it's against everything you and I believe in. I always get the answer, well, you have to say it in some other way. And I ask them, well, how? Give me an example so I can change my words. I'm willing to listen, but I get no answer, which is kind of frustrating. But it also tells me that I'm doing the right thing. Now, how did I get into this? Let me back up a little bit, because, you know, I think I would have other things to do, like read good novels or, you know, have another baby. But, you know, my life story led me to this. My father is a retired diplomat. And apart from going to kindergarten in New York in the 70s, I also attended 1.5 years of school in Iran, in Tehran. And it happened to be exactly 30 years ago when I attended 1st and 2nd grade. And 30 years ago was the revolution, the Islamic revolution. I was there, I was 6 years old, and I remember the mob, the black-clad women. I was hungry. There was very little food. I remember the fear. And even back then, I knew there was something wrong. We then moved on. In 1980, my father returned to Austria. We then stayed in Austria for a couple of years. Then moved on to Chicago, which now answers your question why my English is fairly good. So I attended some years of school there, and then we again returned to Austria, where I finished my schooling. In 1990, I went to Kuwait. I was 19 years old at the time, and I worked at the Austrian embassy in Kuwait. And you know what happened in 1990, August 2nd? Well, guess who was there? Yours truly was there. Woke up one morning, helicopters hovering over Kuwait City, and I knew that we were in trouble. I won't tell you the entire story because we'd be here tomorrow morning, but suffice it to say I was a hostage. I wasn't allowed to leave the country. I had a long trip through Iraq when Saddam Hussein had decided that we Austrians were allowed to leave, and it wasn't pretty. It wasn't good for me. I didn't really make the connection with Islam yet, but I was there, I saw it. Well, I still didn't have enough. And after a brief stint in politics, serving the Vice Chancellor of Austria, Mr. Wolfgang Schüssel, I decided to return to Kuwait because I'm a person who likes to finish what she has started, what I have started. So I wanted to return to Kuwait just for the peace of mind. So I returned to the embassy, did the same job again, stamping visas. And apart from meeting my husband there, who's also an Austrian citizen, I got a taste of Islam. Ramadans, no alcohol, which is bad for me because I like to have a glass of beer or two. And I don't like people telling me what to drink or not to drink. I also don't like people telling me what to eat or not to eat. I also don't like people telling me what to read or not to read. I really dislike that. And Islam tells me exactly that. You may not do this, you may not do that. So I experienced it all. I saw it. I was, you know, being a woman, being a blonde-haired woman, a single woman at the time before I met my husband. You can imagine that it wasn't easy for me, but it made me strong, I can tell you that. At first I wasn't critical, but I developed a strong dislike. I remember one story, one time when I found out, by chance, don't ask me how, I don't remember that Muhammad liked young girls, let's put it that way. I was extremely shocked, and I went to our translator, to our interpreter, a very devout Jordanian, and I said, well, what's going on? I just found out that your prophet likes young girls. And he didn't tell me, no, that's not true. Or he didn't say, yes, that's true. He said, stop talking about this immediately. I'd never want to hear it again. Censorship. He didn't want to get into it. I assume he knows, or maybe he didn't read the Quran. He's just a Muslim in name. But there's no excuse, in my opinion. So, we're still now, I mean, after Kuwait, what is it now, 2000, I said, like I told you, I still hadn't had enough, and I decided I needed to spend a year in Libya, of all places, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah. You didn't know that?
No,
okay. Okay. I spent a year in Libya, a very long year, I can tell you that, and I was in Libya on September 11th. Yes. I had my landlord, a Libyan, storm into my apartment saying, "The Jews did it!" And I said, yeah, right. Libya was hard. Probably the hardest I've ever experienced. It made me a stronger person. It made me the person that I am standing here right now. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be able to go through this. So I returned to Austria in 2001, finished my degree, became an English teacher, a mom. I have a beautiful young daughter. She's 5 years old, and she's the reason I'm standing here today. In 2006, I read a book called Gabriel's Whisperings, and that changed my view drastically. It was written by an Indian atheist. And the interesting thing about this book is that this man used only Islamic sources. And it shocked me. It scared me, it shocked me, and I felt very alienated, very alone, because I all of a sudden got the grasp. I learned about abrogation. I learned about FGM, how FGM is found in the Hadith. And it explained Islam from the very beginnings, the moon gods, you know, the violence. Like I said, it scared me. I felt alone. Well, God is on my side, and in March I hooked up with the Vienna Akademikerbund, an association of academics that is very Islam critical, and they gave me a platform. Oh my God. Okay, forget that platform. I have so much more to say. In October of 2007, I spoke I was invited to speak at the now infamous Counter-Jihad Brussels conference. And that sort of got me started in all this. I have to go to the European Union and tell you that there is a strong threat to the freedom of expression in Europe, with the help of the European Union. Freedom of expression died on 9/11/2007 when peaceful demonstration was forbidden by the mayor there. Now, my focus in all that I'm doing is freedom of expression, because if you can't speak, you're silent and you're dead. And, you know, freedom of expression, who decides, you know, what to say? I decided. It's my standards. Okay, I was brought up and raised to speak in a friendly manner. So I decide what is right or what is wrong, not somebody else. I determine that. The problem with the EU Declaration of Human Rights is that it sounds beautiful. With the new Treaty of Lisbon, we have this Declaration of Human Rights. But the last article is a problem because it says, the Declaration says the rights of expression and association are to be balanced against the values and interests of the community in achieving and maintaining harmony. The community decides. But who determines this balance? It's those who are in control of the establishment, the politicians, and the proponents and apostles of multiculturalism. We also have the EU framework and resolution for combating racism and xenophobia. And I won't quote that because we're out of time, but suffice it to say that criticism of religion is racism. Okay? Racism is no longer racism the way we know it. But my daughter is growing up with a definition of racism that Islam may not be criticized because that is racist. Now, one last thing. I'm almost done. The political left calls me and others a hate preacher.
A hate sponsor.
And hate preacher. Oh, from the German.
The American vernacular.
Okay.
Hate sponsor.
Okay. Now, let me ask you, where do I preach hate when I say that I am a mother and a feminist, a believer in human rights and not Sharia law? Where am I currently preaching hate when I say that I'm a defender of democratic values, of freedom of speech and conscience, of individual self-determination? And I will conclude by quoting Ralph Giordano, a German Jewish writer, who says, "So in the future, I will dare to say what I think and what makes me uneasy. I will dare to say that I am deeply repulsed by the sight of shrouded women and that my repulsion is not directed at them, but at the patriarchal religious system that compels them to be wrapped up. I will still dare to say that I consider Sharia law to be notoriously awful. I will write and tell that the way it is in the name of cultural self-assertion, under the title, Immigration is not the problem. The mosque is not the problem. Islam is the problem." Thank you very much.